Pure Financial Advisors, a registered investment advisor. This show does not intend to provide personalized investment advice through this broadcast and does not represent that the securities or services discussed are suitable for any investor. Investors are advised not to rely on any information contained in the broadcast in the process of making a full informed investment decision. This is Your Money, Your Wealth on Talk Radio 760 KFMB. Now, here's Joe Anderson and Big Al Clopine.
Hey, it's a little bit after the hour. Good morning, everyone. Show's called Your Money, Your Wealth. Joe Anderson, Big Al Clopine hanging out for the next couple of hours talking about finances, financial planning, retirement, Social Security, identity theft. We got a guest coming up here in the second hour. We got Matt Davis. He works for the Identity Theft Resource Center. And we're doing a webinar, Big Al.
You are.
Yes,
That's what I understand. May
Yeah.
17th, I believe, right?
May 17th, yes. May 17th at 10:30 a.m. If you want to register for the webinar, you can go to purefinancial.com/identity. So, join us a little bit later. I'm going to talk to him a little bit about what he does, how he does it, some steps to take to help mitigate as much as you can identity theft. It's a real issue. It's a big deal. And I know a lot of our listeners have had their identity stolen in some shape or another. And Al, your credit cards get stolen every couple of months.
Yeah, I had one in Africa, actually, that Western Union issue. So anyway.
Well, speaking of Africa, how was it? Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you. It's good to be back. And I got to tell you, what a great trip. If you ever get an opportunity to go on safaris in Africa, it is quite the experience to see the animals in their natural environment. And this was in Kenya and Tanzania. We went to 6 different parks over the course of a couple weeks. And it's so exciting. You would think, after you see a couple animals for a day, like, all right, now what?
Pack it up.
Yeah, enough is enough. I mean, how long do you spend at the zoo? Do you spend 14 days straight at the zoo?
No.
Not really. But something's different about when you're in the country and seeing the animals in their natural environment. And this particular trip, Joe, we had a chance to drive from park to park and see people living in their villages, and it was really very friendly people there over in Kenya and Tanzania. And I would say, if you've never been there, at least the people we saw looked well-fed, pretty well-clothed, not a lot of vehicles. Everyone's walking everywhere. And you drive into a little town, and it's kind of a dusty town because it's there's some paved roads, but usually when you get off the road, it's dirt roads. And so little storekeepers, the little store's probably the size of a small living room, and there'll be mud and dirt in front of the stores. But people are walking around carrying stuff. Goats are walking by, and some people are sitting on little towels trying to sell you whatever they've grown in their field, and it's quite the thing. It's the fourth time I've been to Africa third time in the last four years, and it was a great trip.
You going again next year there?
I don't think so.
No. All right.
But we'll see.
We had a couple of subs.
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
Actually, I listened to the last show, at least part of it, on podcast with Bobby Gavari, and I thought you guys did a good job. In fact, when I heard that, I thought, wow, I could have spent another week in the bush.
Well, that's a good show.
Yeah, it was a good show.
Yeah,
it was. I highly recommend that last week's show.
Yeah, you got to get on the podcast.
Yeah,
folks.
you do. I don't know about this week, but last week was good.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll go back to par, right? A couple of different things. Here's kind of the agenda that I want to get through. Is that, there's retirement wishes, right? People that are planning for retirement, but then there's the true reality of what's really going on. I want to get into this article. It was interesting. I want to get back to Social Security as well, because there's still confusion. We got a ton of calls last week about it. Is that now the file and suspend, restricted application, that dual combination is no longer, but there's still strategies that you want to make sure that you're aware of. And so we can go through that. There's some different myths when it comes to Social Security. I want to break some of those up. And then there's also a lot of fear, Al, when people go into retirement. And so there's some other things that I want to get through. to talk about when it comes to handling some of the fear and the anxiety that people have once they approach retirement, because it's a very difficult decision, or not it's a big decision.
It is.
Right? It's a big decision. It's like I'm giving up a paycheck to create my own paycheck, and what am I going to do with myself and my time and everything else?
It's a transition, and transitions are difficult.
And and then we're going to get into taxes, we'll get into Roths, we'll get into all sorts of good stuff. So stick around. We have a full show lined up. But this was interesting, Alan Clopine, is that the 2016 Retirement Confidence Survey came out. They do this every year, the Employee Benefit Research Institute.
Yes.
And things have improved a little bit when it comes to confidence in some areas. Retirees especially, I think, are more confident. And I think now, because they're retired, right, they figured out that, all right, well, now I know what to spend, how to spend it, and what I can and cannot do once they have a couple of years under their belt.
Right.
I think you gain a little bit more confidence when you're already in something.
Yeah, and I think about 63% say they're very confident, or at least somewhat confident, about affording a comfortable retirement, which is interesting because in a minute I'll talk about another survey that just came out, which is a lot more bleak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's funny how they get these numbers.
Yeah,
here.
right.
Then the Retirement Confidence Survey reports that almost half, 47% of workers surveyed, think they'll need to save at least $500,000 for a comfortable retirement.
Right.
So half people think they need about $500,000. 17% say they need between $250,000 and $500,000. And then 26% think they'll need to save less than $250,000 for a comfortable retirement.
Yeah, and it says also that only about 48% have tried to calculate how much they need. So
I would say that's 4.
Me too, but let's just go with their numbers. So that means 52% have no idea. So how are they coming up with these numbers?
Right, they're guessing.
Guessing.
It's a full guess game. 500,000, that seems like a big number, right? Sounds good to me. Let's get 500,000 and then we should be good.
Right.
No, you have to take a look at a lot more aspects of this.
Yes.
Right? It's not necessarily just a number. Fidelity came out with that kind of a back of the envelope.
Yeah, a little guideline of how much you should have saved at different ages. And they kind of said by age 67, it probably should be 8 to 10 times your final salary.
8 to 10 times your final salary. So if you're making $100,000,
they're talking
$1 million
bucks.
$1 million. So what's the progress? Only 26% currently have saved $100,000 or more for their retirement. So there's a long way to go to get to that $500,000 mark, Al.
So we got basically 3/4 of less than 100,000.
Yes.
And even 100,000, you use that 4% distribution rule, and so you can expect to take about $4,000 a year from your portfolio. That doesn't go very far, does it?
Right. Unless you have large pensions and Social Security that's covering most of your overall retirement income need.
Right.
But what we find, and we've been doing this for years, is that most now don't really have those large pensions. A lot of it has to come from their savings.
And I think maybe a lot of people don't realize Social Security is really designed to maybe cover a third, if that, of your income needs or what you're spending before retirement. And in some cases, it's well below that for high wage earners. So if you all of a sudden can only spend about a third of what you're currently spending, if you're depending solely on Social Security, your lifestyle is going to change dramatically.
Here's another stat for you. The Retirement Confidence Survey also reports that 46% of retirees said in 2016 they had retired earlier than planned.
Yeah, I saw that too. And that, boy, we see that every year, don't we?
Right. So it's half.
Yeah, half, right? Because what most of these surveys, including this one, say is that, you know what, I'm going to work till 65, 70, 75, and the thing is, it's not always under your control.
Yeah. 70% of current workers say they plan to work to pay for their retirement, right?
Yes, 70.
70, right? Whereas only about 1/4 of that of current retirees say they've actually done so.
Right.
So there's a huge disconnect of what they want to do, what people are thinking, and what their wishes and goals and dreams are, and then what their actions are. I don't understand this disconnect. People have to start taking action, and I would encourage you to start taking action now. Another survey that we can get into after the break is that the confidence levels are like, oh my gosh, I think more people are getting educated about how much money that it's actually going to take them to provide a retirement income that they're accustomed to. And it's like, there's no way, right? Because before they might, all right, if I have 100,000, because 100,000 is still, it seems like a lot of money.
Well, yeah, because as you're getting more educated, now you're starting to lose confidence because you realize you don't have enough.
Yeah, right, yes. It's like, I don't know about all of this anymore, you know? All right, we got to take a break. Show's called Your Money, Your Wealth. We'll be back in just a second.
This is Your Money, Your Wealth on Talk Radio 760 KFMB.
Hey, welcome back to the program. Show's called Your Money, Your Wealth. My name's Joe Anderson. I'm a certified financial planner. I'm with Big Al Clopine. He's a CPA. Thanks for tuning in today. You can always go to our website if you like at purefinancial.com, purefinancial.com. Hey, last week, Al, I talked a little bit about the changes to Social Security. And what we talk about here on this show is combinations of different strategies, right? Is that, all right, well, here, do you have a solid plan to claim your Social Security benefits, right? Do you understand if you claim at 62 versus full retirement age versus 70, or if you're married, should the spouse claim first or later, in all sorts of different things, right? But once you combine things, such as, all right, maybe you want to delay your Social Security and then do some Roth IRA conversions, because the taxation of Social Security is one of the most interesting things where people will think that they're in a low tax bracket, but all of a sudden as they start taking distributions from IRAs or other income sources, all of a sudden an added dollar of Social Security is going to be added to the equation here, where the tax rates double.
Yeah, they do, Joe. And the reason this happens is because at certain income levels, your Social Security income is tax-free. For example, in most cases, if you only have Social Security income, you're not going to pay any tax. And then in other cases, let's say you've got big pensions, you've got a lot of money saved in IRAs, 401ks, you're over 70 and a half, you're taking your required minimum distribution. Maybe your income is 100,000, 200,000, whatever it may be. And so as much as 85% of your Social Security income is taxable. Now, okay, so where does it change? Well, there's these different breakpoints, right? There's a point where Social Security is taxed at 50%. In other words, 50% of Social Security income is taxed at your current rate. And then there's another point where 85% clicks in, and that's taxed. And here's what happens is, let's say you're going along and you're in that 50% range. So some of your Social Security income is tax-free and some is taxed at 50%. And so you add another...
Or 50% of it is added.
50% is taxed at probably a 15% tax bracket.
Right.
Yeah, let's be clear on that. So, but here's what happens. So you think, well, all right, if I pull $1,000 out of my IRA because I need it for whatever, so I've added $1,000 of income, I'm in the 15% tax bracket, I'm going to pay $150 tax. All right, I'm not happy about it, but I go ahead and do it. But here's what can happen, is that $1,000 now all of a sudden pushes some of that Social Security to be taxed at 85%, where some of that was taxed at 0. So now let's think about this. That $1,000 is taxed at 15%, and now you got $1,000 of Social Security income taxed at 85% of that is taxed, $850 at 15%. So that's about another $120 or so tax. So now you're in a 27% tax rate. That's federal, right? And then you got state. Now state
27.75%.
Yeah, to be exact.
28%,
Yeah.
let's call it.
Yeah, let's call it 28%.
And if you're in the 25% tax bracket, I read this article by John Walton, who's a PhD, and he started looking at this because he retired. He was an engineer.
I think he was surprised. How
Right.
this
He's
worked.
like, yeah, and then one of the smartest guys on the planet, right? He's
Yeah,
like, wait
right.
a minute, what the
Right.
heck is going on here, right? So
Yeah.
he dove in deeper.
Yes.
And then he's like, oh my gosh. And then if you're in the 25% tax bracket with the same formula, it's 46.25%. It's almost a 50% tax rate.
Yeah, because here's what happens. That extra dollar is taxed at 25%, pushes a dollar Social Security. 85% of that is taxed at a 25% rate, and you get up over 40%, as you said.
And then so he goes on to say, this makes conversions to Roth substantially more beneficial, even if it appears that you are in a higher tax bracket today.
Yes.
Because of the taxation of Social Security, of what that's going to do and what bracket potentially that's going to put you in, depending on what zone that you're in.
So here's what this means to you, is when you think about it, if you're trying to get money out of your IRA, 401k into a Roth IRA, you can do a conversion. There's no limitations anymore. 2010, they took the limitations away, so it doesn't matter how much money you make at any age, any income level, any amount, working or not. You can do a Roth conversion. You can take money out of your IRA and convert it to a Roth. And so then you think, well, all right, so if I'm in a 25% tax bracket now, and I'm going to be in a 15% tax bracket later, why would I convert now? Because I'm in a higher bracket. Well, when you run these numbers, you may find you're in a 27, 28% bracket or even a 42, 43% bracket because of Social Security. So you got to look at this a little bit more carefully. And I got to tell you, a lot of you guys that are in the 25% tax bracket, you do want to be looking at Roth conversions right now. Right before you hit 70 and a half, before you start taking your required distributions, and if you push your Social Security out longer, which is what we recommend for many of you, then you're going to be receiving a higher Social Security benefit, which is great. But if you have a whole bunch of money coming out of your IRAs and pushing your income up, a whole bunch of that Social Security income is going to be taxed.
Right. So if you combine a couple of different strategies and set yourself up to say, all right, well, here, I'm going to retire at such and such date. Or even if you're currently retired, you have to look at what the tax consequences is on the income that you are producing. And if there's ways to get that money into a Roth, because the Roth dollar that comes out, all right, it is not included in the computation for the provisional income of what determines how much of your Social Security is going to be subject to income tax.
Yeah, in other words, in the future, when you're devising your own income strategy, every dollar that you take out of a Roth IRA does not count as income, and so therefore less of your Social Security income will be taxable.
Right. So then you look at, okay, well, here, and then you got to think of this, is some people have such a hard time of delaying their Social Security benefit, right? It's like, no, there's no way I would delay this thing.
Right.
But if you think of it in the grand scheme of things, is that, all right, here, would you have two pools of money that are going to grow at 8%, okay? So you have an IRA that's going to grow at 8%, let's say, or you have Social Security that's going to grow at 8%. But wait a minute, the Social Security is a guarantee by the federal government versus there's no guarantee that your IRA is going to grow at 8%, right? And so I'm looking at guarantees of 8%. I would take that all day long. And that's what Social Security is giving you. It's a delayed retirement credit of 8% per year. Each year you delay. So you delay that out to age 70, and then when you get that income, it's going to be tax favored to you. There's no state of California tax on it. And at the most, only 85% of it is subject to tax.
Yeah, see, that's I think a lot of people don't realize that. Social Security income is not subject to tax in California. Your IRA dollars, your 401k dollars, you will pay California tax on those.
It's ordinary income all the way through. So having a strategy could save you. I mean, the more you look at this and the more education I think that people do, they'll realize that, hey, I could put this little quick moves to save tens of thousands of dollars long term.
Yeah, because taxes don't stop when your paycheck does. And that's the whole point, is when you retire, you got to devise your own income strategy, and you want to keep it tax efficient. When you start tapping that retirement nest egg, it comes with all sorts of new rules, but also opportunities. Instead of contributing to tax-deferred plans that reduce your taxes, you start tapping those for savings for income and paying taxes at your regular rate, often at very high rates with your required distributions.
All right, we got to take a break. Show's called Your Money or Wealth.
Now back to Your Money, Your Wealth on Talk Radio 760 KFMB.
Hey, welcome back. Welcome back to the program. Show's called Your Money or Wealth. Joe Anderson, Big Al Clopine. Thanks for tuning in. Go to our podcast, iTunes, Your Money or Wealth. It jams 2 hours, and probably you can get it in about an hour and 20 minutes.
Right, because it's without commercials.
Yes, commercial free.
Yeah, that's right.
4 myths about Social Security, Alan.
All right, what do you got?
I got a couple here. I don't know if I want to go through all 4. I don't want to bore people to death. But here's what we hear, okay? Number 1, this is by Steve Vernon. Steve Vernon's been on the program before.
Yes, he has.
You remember him?
Yeah. Is he Market Watch? Or?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, CBS Market Watch.
Yeah.
Where Larry Spedro kind of wrote the column in with
right,
him. Yeah.
that's right.
All right. Myth number 1, Social Security funding is in trouble, and the trust fund is forecasted to be exhausted. I'll never get anything if I don't start collecting my benefits soon.
I think that's whether it's articulated or not. I think a lot of people think that.
So this is what his comment is. He goes, this ignores the fact that most of Social Security benefits from current retirees are funded by the taxes paid by current workers.
And that's not going to change unless we have 100% unemployment.
Right. Which could happen. We'll see
I
who
suppose.
gets in office.
It's all going to be robots, right? Is what I heard.
Yeah.
In fact, we got a Joe Anderson robot we're testing out.
Yeah, Joe Bot. He's going to do this radio show with you.
Yeah. My natural landing is interesting.
Yes, it's going to be great. Yeah. So only about 1/4 of benefits of retirees are paid by the Social Security Trust Fund. It could be completely exhausted, and roughly 3/4 of current benefits would still be paid. In addition, Social Security is one of the federal government's most popular programs. Lawmakers would pay a severe price by eliminating the program. After all, everybody has parents and grandparents. Politicians might make needed changes as they've done in the past, but these would likely improve the funding status of the program.
Yeah, so I think that couple points bear repeating. So if nothing is done, and I think it's last I saw is 2033.
Yeah.
Something like that.
That's
Then,
the same study I saw.
yeah, and then 77% of your benefits will be paid because of current workers that are working. So it doesn't go down to zero. You get 3/4 of it. Now, of course, that ignores the fact that we probably will make changes. And in fact, we have made changes in the past, and they make changes by increasing the retirement age or increasing the cap that the current workers pay on. And these things, they're unpopular politically, so that's why no one's doing them. But when we get closer to that date, you can pretty much bet that that's going to happen.
Here's another myth. The federal government will cut Social Security benefits to improve its financing. I'd better start benefits as soon as possible so my benefits won't be cut.
Well, that's I would say my same comment there, which is it's not that hard to fix Social Security by making a few changes. Medicare is a little bit trickier. That agency's in a little bit more trouble. But Social Security itself, my personal belief is that it's fixable by doing some of the things that I just mentioned.
But every time they made a change, even this last bipartisan bill that they signed and snuck in last year, it still grandfathered who in?
Yeah, the people that were already collecting benefits.
People that were already collecting benefits.
And that's and you know, a lot of people have a lot to say about our government and IRS and Social Security, but the truth is, and this again is my opinion, the truth is they're pretty fair when they make changes. They really don't try to undercut people that have already made plans based upon what they're already receiving.
So it says, when our leaders have reduced benefits in prior years, they made the changes applying them to groups according to their age, regardless of when they started benefits. They've always protected people who are close to retirement or in retirement. This principle is being applied to various changes that are currently being considered, including a possible change to the retirement age. So,
in which they've already done. So
they've already done that in the past.
Right. So I think it's pretty likely because we're living longer, so it makes sense to push the retirement age out. I mean, that's just pure logic.
Here's the last one I'll go through is that I can do better if I start Social Security as early as possible and invest the money.
Yeah, that's if you save it. How many people actually save that extra money they have?
Yeah,
Not
not
many.
many. But here's another thing is that if you think you can receive a better return than 8%,
yeah, because
over a short period of time, right? Because
Right.
if I'm taking at 62, I'm taking a 25% permanent haircut
Yes.
versus taking it, let's say at 66, if that was my full retirement age. So I'm going to take it 4 years early. I'm going to take that money. I'm going to invest it. All right.
Right.
So the increase that you receive is about 6.5 or something like that, 6 point whatever. I don't know the math off the top of my head.
It's 25% divided by 4.
So
yeah,
6 something.
Call it 6.
Okay.
6 plus.
And then from your full retirement age to age 70, then you get that 8% delayed retirement credit.
Yeah. So what that means is that every year that you wait, your monthly benefit is 8% higher than the year before. So if it was going to be $1,000, now it's $1,080, right? And if you wait another year, it's $1,160. That's how that works. And you receive that the rest of your life. But I know there's engineers out there and accountants that say, well, wait a minute, but I didn't actually receive that money in the first year, so I got to factor all that in, which you do. You do. And the break even, Joe, most things that we look at, it's around 77, 78, 79, maybe 80, depending upon the assumptions that you
assumptions
use.
that you're using.
Right? But the average age, if you look at a married couple, age 65, there's more than a 50% chance that one of you is going to live to age 92, right? And remember, with Social Security, the survivor always gets to pick the higher benefit, whether it's theirs or their deceased spouse. And so it's important that at least one of you has a big benefit to help sustain you guys through the rest of your life.
Right. And so we look at Social Security as basically longevity insurance.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
I think that's how you should look at it.
It's not like, we don't look at it as an investment, if you will, to say, okay, well, what is really the true break even of this? It's like, well, no, if you wait to take it and you die, well, you're dead.
Yeah, you may not regret it because you're not around.
Who cares? You're done. But then the people that are waited, they're pretty happy that they waited.
They're pretty happy.
It's the delayed gratification is what is blowing all of this retirement planning up.
Yeah. Well, my generation does not like to delay anything.
It's delayed gratification.
We like to have it now.
Right now. No, I want it right now.
Yes.
And so, yes. I get that. I understand that. But you have to take a look at a broader stroke picture of figuring out, okay, well, here, if I blow myself up early, then I'll just figure it out later. Well, what we're finding is that it's very difficult for people to figure it out later.
Right.
When the money's gone, it's gone.
Yeah, and I want to reemphasize a point we made, which is when there's a husband and a wife, maybe the female is the greater wage earner, or maybe it's the male, it doesn't really matter. But more often than not, if the highest wage earner can delay their Social Security to age 70, you're going to be much happier as a couple because, first of all, as a couple, you're going to receive more. But then the survivor, whoever survives between the two of you, gets that highest benefit for the rest of your life. And we're living, Joe, into our 80s, now 90s. I would suspect...
That's today's numbers, Al. Just
I know.
20 years
That's
from
what
now.
I was going to say. In the future, it could be 100, could be normal, right?
Yeah. We'll still be on the show.
When you get to be 100, I'll be 117. We'll be still doing the show.
We're killing it. Oh, don't go anywhere. Show's called Your Money, Your Wealth.
This is Your Money, Your Wealth on Talk Radio 760 KFMB.
Hey, welcome back to the program. Show's called Your Money, Your Wealth. My name's Joe Anderson. I'm a certified financial planner. I'm with Big Al Clopine. He's a CPA. Thanks for tuning in each and every Saturday, 10 a.m., 12 noon. For some, 10 a.m. to 11 for others. If you want to get the full 2 hours, the full Monty, you got to go to iTunes. Got to get the podcast.
Yeah, and then it's 24/7.
It's 24/7. You just get loaded up with podcasts.
You could listen to podcast after podcast.
Yeah, like Vinny.
Yeah, right?
Just repeat.
Repeat.
Listens, repeat.
Yeah, and that little button that goes back 30 seconds, it's like, what did they say? That was good stuff. Then you go back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
So because I think we're going to talk about dealing with fear and uncertainty in retirement. There's, I think, 6 ways to deal with it.
Yeah, here's some steps.
Yeah.
Yeah. Couple of things. Because, we help people. We've helped thousands. And that's no exaggeration.
Yes, we have.
Of people retire.
Yeah.
Thousands. And Al and I have been doing the show for, what 10 years?
Correct.
So all the, I would imagine we have about 16, 17 listeners per week.
We're into the hundreds now, I think.
Right? It's staggering.
We remember it took us like about 5 years to get 100 likes on Facebook.
Yes.
But now we're thousands.
Thousands.
Right? Well, 1,000.
Is that how many? I
think
don't know. I haven't been on Facebook.
If you had, you'd see my Africa pictures.
Oh, well,
so the rest of the office is raving about it, and you're out of it. No Facebook account.
No, we're gonna get 10,000 people on our Facebook now. All right, so here's the deal. So let's say you're thinking about retirement. You got a little anxiety about it, a little uncertainty, and you're like, okay, well, here, I definitely want to get this thing done. All right, I think I might have my finances in order, but there's other parts of retirement. Right?
Yeah.
It's not necessarily dollars and cents. It's like emotions. It's like, all right, well, here, what am I going to do? So here's what this gentleman says. What's his name? Michael K. All right. This is from Forbes magazine.
Yeah. So it must be good.
Must be. It's Forbes. The crack research team's pulling out the heavy hitters today.
Yeah.
All right. Number 1, create a 5-year vision statement. Oh, boy.
Okay. Tell me about yours.
My vision statement.
Where do you want to be in 5 years?
Well, my goal is...
Doing radio and TV?
Yes, I have a very specific goal that I want to help as many people as possible make sure that they secure their financial future.
Pretty good off
on a
the cuff.
fiduciary level.
Okay.
That's the goal.
All right. I'll second that. That's what I want to.
You know, it's like you can go to a lot of different places to get financial advice, but my goal is to help people to get financial advice from a certified financial planner, CPA, that works as a fiduciary 100% of the time, that has their best interest at heart all the time. So
Right. So
that's my 5-year vision. But anyway, it's not about me.
Yeah, when you think about your vision, think about your lifestyle, important occasions, your social life, your intellectual pursuits, your health, and your community. Write down what really gives you satisfaction.
You know, I saw this cool video. This lady, she's 93 years old.
Yeah.
You know, she's talking about aging.
Yeah.
And it's just a spitfire. Hilarious.
Okay, yeah.
You know, and she's, you know, they're like, well, what gets you up in the morning? She's like, what the hell are you talking about? You know, so she's like, yeah, as you age, you know,
Yeah.
you get these mental thoughts and
Sure.
things like that. And she's
Right.
like, you know, sometimes I feel like I'm 15. Your mind doesn't necessarily age as your body does.
Yes, true. My grandma used to tell me that when she was in her 80s.
You know,
She said and she used to talk about singing in the shower. When I hear the music, it's such a beautiful sound, and my voice sounds beautiful until it comes out of my mouth. And then I get out of the shower and look at the mirror and I go, who's that?
Right. All right. So that's number 1. Just kind of create a vision statement.
Okay.
Number 2, imagine a typical week in retirement. So, like, practice it.
Yeah, I like that.
You know what I mean? So what will you do when you get out of bed? What's your purpose? What are you thinking? Am I going to sleep until noon? That's probably not going to last too long. And then the panic sets in. How will you fill your days? Think social outings, learning opportunities, babysitting duties, part-time jobs, yoga classes, travel, or long walks in the neighborhood. Regardless of what ultimately fills your calendar, make sure it's meaningful for your health, emotional well-being, and happiness. If you struggle to find things to do, it might be time to do some soul searching, join a group, or pick up a copy of Don't Retire, Rewire.
Rewire. There you go. Get your juices flowing.
There you go. Here's another one for you, Big Al.
Okay.
Understand your current money situation.
All right.
That's number 3 on the list.
Yeah, which I think is good. I mean, I would say, Joe, that we talk to a lot of people that do a lot of good planning and they get to retirement, and the money part really is fine.
Tight.
But they haven't thought about the other stuff. They haven't thought about how they're going to fill their day, what's going to give them meaning, what's important. And you know what? When you're retired, you still want a 5-year vision statement.
Sure.
Because you always want to be growing and learning. And if you're not, you're going the other direction.
Right. You just drive yourself nuts, be bored, depressed, and all that.
Right.
All right. Decide which insurance coverage you'll require. You know, so going forward, think beyond your employee benefits to plans such as Medicare supplements or long-term care. What risk can you bear versus risk you can choose to transfer for cost, to insurance? Weigh the difference between low deductible, high premium, and high deductible, low premium options.
Right.
So insurance is always a big thing.
It is, and as you get older, particularly health type of concerns, and if you can mitigate some of those risks, and some people, long-term care insurance is great. Other people can self-insure. Some people do a combination. You know, whatever works for you. But at least think about it. That's the point, because you don't want to get to a point where you haven't thought about it and your whole financial situation kind of falls apart.
You know, creating a spending plan that focuses on what you value most. That's interesting.
Okay.
Because I guess I spend a lot of money on things I don't necessarily value.
What do you spend money on?
I don't know. I mean,
Well, your house, I guess.
House,
You just got a new house.
cars, and what?
Yeah.
And food.
You got nice clothes.
Well, this is a uniform, Alan.
I know. I'm not putting you down. I'm saying you look very nice.
So would you rather put your resources to extensive travel instead of maintaining a larger residence? Mm-hmm. Have you ever seen that show, My Little House, or Big Dreams Little House? Or
No.
these people live in like this house as big as my shoe.
Oh, I saw a preview for that. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right?
Yeah, it's
Tiny house.
Tiny.
It's like, what the heck are they doing?
Just see if they can.
I'm 6'4", 220 pounds. There's no way I could live in a tiny
won't work
house.
for you.
I would have like cramps and it would be awful. But yeah, nice little cute couple. They're
Yeah.
like, no, we're redefining success.
Yes.
Because we're going to travel and we're not going to spend all our money because we bought this house that's 100 square foot. And it has a
Yes.
kitchen, dinette, 2 bathrooms, and a bedroom. Would you like to come over? No. I don't want to come over to your tiny house.
You have to push in one of the walls to
It
go
would
to
be
sleep.
No, I'll be out. Here, you got a lawn chair. I'll be outside.
Yes.
Come on, have a beer with me out here. I'm not going to the tiny house.
All right. Is there a sixth one?
Yes, there is. Recognize that transitions are tough for most people.
True.
Yeah, it's very true.
It's telling you to find a therapist.
You might need one.
You might.
I mean, half the time our job feels like
It
therapy.
does. Yeah, you're right about that. So I guess there's a lot to think about when it comes to retirement, and certainly life planning is part of it. Certainly income planning, money planning. But what about tax planning? A lot of people forget that part, Joe.
All right, we got to take a break. Show's called Your Money, Your Wealth.